Dumela, Sawubona, Sakpase, Namaste, Upshin, Dubra Otra, Assalamu alaikum, Hotep, Buenas noches, bonsoir. Good evening, folks. This is Dorielle, Inez Larrier of Larry's Educational Resource Network, where I plant seeds to help you grow. Welcome to another episode of The Digital Couch, where we have inspirational people who come and interact, instruct, and inspire their community to live life better than the day before. I want to welcome you to, again, another episode. This is a little touching episode. This is not only Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I wanted to bring you a very serious conversation just for a few minutes for us to engage, to be empowered, to move forward, and to listen to voices that need to be heard. Now, even though this is just sort of like a one opportunity to have this conversation, I look forward to opening the doors to very, as I've said before, constructive conversations about touchy topics that people sometimes speak about around the water cooler. But when it comes down to having really fruitful and empowering discussions and dialogue, sometimes people are like, oh, I don't think I want to do that. Let's leave that for other people. Well, you know what? You are that other person. So on my couch tonight will be a beautiful sister who I've met and come into contact with and have grown to appreciate, love, honor, and respect. And her name is Sheba. Sheba has come out with a really interesting product or merchandise that I think is literally in your face. It's something that you cannot look away from, but it sends a powerful message. So let's have a conversation with Sheba. Welcome, Sheba.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. I love the introduction, by the way. It was nice and smooth.
That's what we try to be. So wait, do you have your mug?
Yes, I do have my mug.
We're on the couch. Thank you. So mine says live, laugh, love. And some people would recognize probably why I brought this mug out tonight. Sheba is, we are toasting to her boss lady mug.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's get into the conversation tonight. So you and I had, we were speaking a couple of days ago, and you said, oh, Muriel, take a look at this. And I said, ooh, wow. Now I'm going to provide a teeny bit of backdrop. What has come out over the last couple of days on Netflix, if anybody is a Netflix binge watcher, I am one. And I just finished watching the new series titled Maid, M-A-I-D, about a young lady in sort of middle America in a relationship that she had to leave from that relationship, but then found herself betwixt and between the state and family in trying to demonstrate how she needed to make a move for her own emotional, physical, social well-being and that of her child.
Mm-hmm.
In the midst of that, you sent me a message and said, I want you to look at this. All weekend, I had been like, I don't even know what to think. I'm trying to figure this out. So please tell us what you have, what you designed, and why it is important that we take a look at engaging with this conversation.
Okay. So, so I sent everyone the link, and just as much as, other people's responses were, Sheba, whoa, this is so in your face. I think it is what it is. First, let me preface it by saying Sheba is actually an acronym, right? And so it stands for She's Better After It All. So every single thing, right, is an extension of that acronym and that affirmation that God gave me a few years ago, right? So I transitioned out of an interesting relationship, right? For the sake of the platform, I have to leave it at that. And this is what the next move, the next step was. You know what? After every situation, after everything, after every up, down, anything in between, I've come to this place to realize that I'm better after it all. And so when you look at what I sent you, which is, dear men, stop hitting women. It comes from that place, right? And so, I connected with my team because if this is the platform for me to talk about where it came from, I mean, the moment for me to talk about where it came from. As you know, I'm a mother, so just bear with the baby noises. But I was walking to do laundry, which I never do, honestly. I usually, and I pick it up, drop it off because it's against my religion to be in a laundromat. So I was walking, and I was like, I'm trying to be an adult. I'm trying to save money because it was right in the middle of COVID, and I'm trying to use wisdom, with money and finances, because I don't know what the future holds, right? And so I'm literally walking in my little car, and I'm thinking, this is hilarious that I'm walking to the laundromat. And I kid you not, out of nowhere, boom, dear men, stop hitting women. I'm telling you, it's the God honest truth. And so I stopped. I'm a little animated, but this is really what happened. So I stopped literally in the middle of the street, and I'm like, huh? Dear men, stop hitting women. So what I decided to do, I decided to reach out to someone just to kind of probe their thinking. You don't want to just be impulsive and jump out there and whatever. So I probed their thinking a little bit, and I'm like, this idea came to me. And I told the person the idea. Based upon the outcome, or if I can say their response, I said, you know what? This is a Sheba thing, right? Because I'm big, bad, and I'm bold. That's just what it is. Everything about me is in your face. So why not just continue the conversation? As I thought about it and I mulled over it, seriously, I thought about it. I met with the team. I'm thinking, now I'm big, bad, and bold. But am I really big, bad, and bold, right? So when I got the assurance from God, that's really the first and foremost. And then from the team, I said, you know what? You can do this. You've done other things before. Even, and this is really not, well, you mentioned it, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month as well. And so in the past, I've held a event called Titties. And when I came with that idea, one of my friends was like, Sheba, like, girl, can you keep anything? And I'm not going to apologize because that's how it comes to me. It comes to me in my face. And so I present it and I give it to others in their face, right? And one of the things that I want to kind of mention is that, and I believe you said this, or maybe we were talking about it before, but give me 1 second. Okay. All right, I'll always love to have my children at work with me. But so one of the things that you mentioned was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Now, any person that has ever been following Sheba since its inception knows that I never use that word. Why? Because we're aware of a lot of things. Now, I'm not Webster by no means, but awareness, usually when you say I'm bringing you to a place of awareness, is because people do not know about it, right? People are well aware of domestic violence. People are well aware of breast cancer awareness, or so forth and so on. So this is why Sheba, the purpose of Sheba, is to bring this empowerment to women so that they can understand their value, they can understand their place, they can understand, listen, you do not have to accept everything. You do not have to stay in everything. There's so many different aspects of it. And so the awareness part that's not me. You can talk to somebody else. The empowerment part is where dear men, stop hitting women comes from, right? It's the empowerment to empower you to come to this place that you are better after it all. And so, just following what you said, yes, I know it's in your face, but I'm qualified, I'm equipped, I'm prepared to do it.
That is a mouthful. So because I saw this series, mm-hmm. After I was watching it, I said, wow, how some things are the safe topic to talk about, right? And then there are the other things that are not. One thing that was striking about this particular series is how the main character, and those of you who have not seen Maid, let me just try to not give spoilers here, but it was around domestic violence. But one thing that what drew my attention is that, quote, the male in this particular situation, because domestic violence happens across genders.
Yes.
that the male never physically touched her. And
Mm-hmm.
the young lady was literally jumping through hoops trying to get the government to recognize that she was still a victim of domestic violence. And I found it striking, no pun intended,
Right.
that they said if you did not file a report and there are quote unquote no broken bones or bruises or no one saw him strike you, that a lot of services would not be available to this person. Over time, because of circumstances, she wound up, because it was just a domino effect when, a person is in that dire of a situation and they literally are removing themselves sometimes in the middle of the night. They go with almost nothing on their, but only but the clothes on their back, if that. And so she winds up trying to figure out she has literally nothing, and the person used a number of different other tactics to control her movements. She was like, I don't have anything else to do or to lean on to support. But the government was like, well, if you didn't file a report, if he didn't physically strike you, it's kind of tough to sort of do that. So I was very, very moved. If you have not seen Made on Netflix, please catch it. It's very interesting that it's within this month, and it was probably, a good connector.
Right.
But let's go back to your shirt. And so some of the shows, and I think you're wearing one.
Yes, I don't. You might not be able to see it here, but
Okay.
I am. I'm gonna try to adjust it a little bit. But
Okay.
wait. Hey, look. Let me put my teacup down. But yes, I am wearing one. This one is actually custom made, honestly, because when I was still mulling over it, honestly, I didn't launch. I didn't design. I didn't do anything. I just wanted to see how I felt. Like, I don't know, I don't know how to explain it, but I wanted to see how it would feel. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this idea came to me last year. So this is almost like birthing a baby, like, literally almost birthing a baby. So I went through a lot of changes. I went through a lot of disappointments. I went through pain. No, seriously, this is like birthing a baby. And now it's just time to push it out, really. And so one of the things that you mentioned as far as yes, because in the beginning, that was the question or the thought, Sheba, not all, domestic violence is physical. And my response to it was, you always have to start somewhere. Right. So most times people who are not walking in your vision and don't even have the wherewithal to walk in your vision, there's a lot of, it's not that I mind criticism at all, but it's just, let's think these things through first. So let's start somewhere and then we can, build from there. Now, domestic violence is very close to home. So I think I have a right to speak, on behalf of that. Like I said, just for the sake of the platform, I can't really go into too much detail. However, I have a sister. I never forget this when I was younger. My sister, she experienced it like literally up in my face. I've had many, many people experience it. And funny enough, they came to me prior to Sheba, right? They came to me, talking to me, and I just had this edge, this boldness, it's always been a part of who I am. So I'm not surprised that this is one of the fruits, if I could say, of my labor or the outcomes of some of my childhood experiences, right? And so, like I said, many, as Sheba is really about women empowerment, right? And so many, many women, and as I mentioned before, that do not yet have the voice, let me speak for you, right? And I'm hoping, praying, literally, hoping, wishing, praying, everything else, that you would get to this point of saying it, like, bro. It's, I'm from, but right, like, bro, or sis, like, what are you doing? And so that was a lot of criticism too. Well, why are you speaking to men? Why are you not speaking to women? And I said, again, let me start somewhere. Trust me, because I have the vision already years down the line, but I need to start somewhere. And I'm going to start with obedience to what God gave me first. And then, of course, it may evolve as time goes on. But he didn't say, dear men, stop. He said, dear men, stop hitting women. That's what it said, and that's what I ran with. And as you go on the website, you'll see there's other things. There is one that actually says not all violence or is physical. There's another one that says, "Dear men, stop calling names." So we try to touch a little bit. And like I said, it's just the beginning. It's just a newborn baby, so it's not fully walking and talking. It's just still on milk and breast milk. So yeah, so we're just starting, and that's a good place to start at the very beginning, and then build and see, and how it goes, and then we just move from there.
Excellent. So I definitely want to share the site one more time. Sure, while she's going to be mommy over there, and it is www.dearmenstop.org, dearmenstop.org, dearmenstop.org. So here's I guess the part 2 to this question of who is this for, right? Who is it for? And so I was reminded of that there's one, I guess, a movement which is very aligned to this work, and that is Thursdays in Black. Thursdays in Black.
Right.
If anyone hashtags Thursdays in Black, every Thursday you will notice some people across the country and across the world who might be dressed in all Black. And that dressing in all Black or donning of Black on that day is to bring awareness to gender-based violence, to bring awareness of gender-based violence. It is an ecumenical movement, and so it crosses, let's say racial and spiritual lines, but people all across the world are trying to raise the flag or trying to bring awareness that gender-based violence is wrong. There should not be any intimidation or harm or insulting to a person based on their gender, with gender in mind, if you will. And so definitely this work is connected. And in a conversation I had a couple of months ago on the digital couch, we were talking about like, who are the players? Well, who are the people? And in this situation, who are the people who just might be who might don these shirts, who might don this message, who might be this walking billboard? And so the 3 types of people were the activists. Let me get it straight. The activists, the allies. I just had it in my head. The activists, the allies.
Is it the survivors?
And activists, allies, and advocates. Advocates, that's what it is.
I like that, yes.
Activists, right? Allies and advocates. So in this situation, the activists could be, as you just started to say, like the survivors, the people who have been in that seat, and are at a point where, as you mentioned before, who feel like they can take their voice back, and they can now start to speak up for themselves. Maybe that's a person who might feel comfortable and like they're ready to do that. So that could be, the person who walked in the shoes. The advocates, those may be the family members who are just supporting them as best as possible, who might see, and they're at a point to support however their support is being welcomed by the person. And then maybe there's the allies. Maybe the allies are the people who like sit in the seat, who are some of the decision makers. Maybe they are the people who like, again, in this series, like the woman who is part of the social service team, or maybe the counselor team, or the person who runs the domestic violence shelter. That to have somebody don a shirt like that, it at least says, I see you. I see you. And people want to be seen. They want to be recognized. They want to be honored. And they want their power to be returned to them.
That's right. And they want to be heard. Listen, yes. They want to, like I said, this is so personal. I mean, I know I can name people, you know what I mean? Like just countless who they're not at that place to speak up. They're still afraid. They may have even removed themselves from the situation, but they still haven't found that voice or that protection. One of the things that my friends, those who've known me for a long time, and I'm not really sure why I'm like this, but I'm very protective. I can't explain it. I've always been the type where if someone was being, made fun of in school, I was always the one to speak up or defend them, or, so this is almost like, I don't know. This is just,
It's a part of your DNA.
it's a part of my DNA. And funny enough that you said that, like, I've talked this through to, a woman who has a domestic violence actual organization in Trinidad and Tobago. We had a long comment. Like I said, I really thought this out. I wrote it out. I prayed it out, because like you said, it's a bold move, and even on the Dear Men Stop Hitting Women page, I've had some interesting responses to it that I'm not going to even address here.
And once again, it is dearmenstop.org, dearmenstop.org. Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. And so, yes, I had very interesting responses from men, from men that's like, well, Sheba, it goes both ways, or women need to know their place, and, many different things. And I'm still deciding on how or if I even feel necessary to respond, because the shirt speaks for me and the shirt can speak for other activists and advocates, right? And there's nothing. I mean, when you see the shirt, there's nothing else to be said. Like the other day, I was in Broadway Junction. A lady walked past, and she was like, "Yes, that was it," and walked away. Nothing else to be said. It is what it is, and it just is what it is. There's many other different things that are so much in our faces, and it's acceptable. But something where it makes a person feel uncomfortable, sometimes it's shunned upon. Sometimes people become afraid. What are you afraid of? There's so many other things that's in your face. So why would this be any different?
Right.
And it's not that I'm putting anybody on Jump Street, like, because of course you have to respect confidentiality. Some people are, like you said, some people are not at that point yet, so it's not that I'm imposing on anyone. I'm just speaking for you discreetly. I'm speaking for you discreetly, or until, like I said, you find your voice. Now, if I may plug this in, like I said, it's a whole vision. It's not just a part, but it's a part of a whole. So, of course, my intention is to try to find sponsors and advocates and activists, and try to find, not try, but more so connect with those who have domestic violence organizations. I already am starting to make movement towards that. So it's not just this chick just randomly pop up idea. It's none of that. It's really thought out, sitting with other people who are doing this, type of work. Now, it may not be a t-shirt, and may not be in your face, but they're doing some of this work. And most people are very passionate. They're supporting me. They're pushing me. Sheba, do it. You can do it. Why not? No one else is doing it. And funny enough, when I did a part of the research, oh, really? This is what we're going to do now? A part of the research, I said, well, let me go see.
She's your cheering section. You know that, right?
I know some people will be like, what are you doing? You shouldn't do this. This is a professional platform. Listen, one of my mentors told me, allow your children to be a part of it. This is what it is. This is what we do. And so, they're fine. You heard babies, fuss and cry a little bit. So it's going to be fine. But when I did the research, I said, you know what? Let me see if there's anyone else doing any type of, t-shirt branding. And I found one particular, it's actually a couple. They're in they're in the Netherlands, sorry. However, their message is, she is not your rehab. And when I saw it, I said, oh, okay. So the only other couple, that is doing this type of work, but is connected to, a t-shirt brand, and that's just their only message. She is not your rehab, right? And but yeah, and I respect what they do, but this is just how I'm going to do it, and I'm excited about it. I really am. I don't really have the full every picture, but it's going to become clearer and clearer as time goes on, just like everything else that I do. But I feel passionate. Other passionate, powerful women that I've. Oh, really? Okay, give me a second. Okay. Oh, she's like, listen.
While she's being mommy, it is dearmenstop.org. Dearmenstop.org. We're talking to Sheba. She is an amazing. She does all of it with the babies in the hand.
This is so not normal behavior. They're just like, you know what? Let me show out, but it's okay. It's okay. But yeah, so other powerful women that I've spoken, about it, they're like, go ahead. What do you have to lose? Think about it. What do you have to lose by doing it? It'll be a part of other uncomfortable conversations that we need to have, right? And that's and with people who have the ability to make a difference, really. And so
Right. And you're one of those change agents. If no one has done it before, then probably other people have thought the same thing as the people who are providing the constructive criticism. Like, well, ooh, that's kind of in your face. And we could very well say, listen, there's a whole lot of other stuff that's been put on t-shirts that
right,
is not reputable, that
right,
pushes buttons, right? And pushes buttons in very interesting ways. And clearly I see things on shirts, and I know you do as well. And you think somebody
really.
actually made a print of that and then kept repeating that. Somebody
And then
actually put that on their shelf. Someone thought that. So one thing that caught my eye, and then I said, wow, how are we going to explain this to children? How are we going to explain this to girls growing up thinking that, so is this what I'm supposed to be thinking, that my counterparts, it's a part of their DNA? Or young boys are going to grow up thinking, is that what people are expecting of me? And again, as just like there are other things that are on shirts that, let's just say, a great sliver of the population would say, we're not necessarily a part of that message. Then the same way that parents say, well, that's what they're wearing, but that's not necessarily who you are,
right.
that can go across the board as well. So literally, like, I'm thinking out loud and I'm working through it in my head.
I love it. I mean, I'm still working it through the launch date was what, October 14th. So we're just a few days, like I said, newborn. We just got discharged from the hospital. You know what I'm trying to say? So we're home and we're getting,
I
adjusted and
remember. I
listen.
remember.
So yeah, so it's
The
still,
story.
you don't, just like parents, parenting rather, doesn't come with a guide, right? When you make bold moves like this doesn't come with a guide either. You just have to just weather the storm. You have to just be bold and understand your purpose. And usually for some reason, this quote always comes in any type of speaking platform, is that purpose, right, is simply fulfilling a need, right? Sometimes people think it's this extravagant boom, boom, bang, bang. And, sometimes people, they feel like, what am I here for? Because, they're not doing the big bang, boom, boom, bang, bang. But if you make up in your mind every single day that I'm going to fulfill a need, you're fulfilling purpose, right? And so this is fulfilling purpose for a person who needs someone else to speak on their behalf, someone else to empower them. And like I said before, this is a holistic thing. It's not just a t-shirt. There's many times that I'm up 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Speaking to women. There's many times that I'm texting all throughout the day. I mean, praying
You
on
and
the
I, we talk.
hello.
Don't
But
look at our call registry because we on the phone a lot.
a lot, but even for women who are in these situations, like I
Right.
said, that may have escaped, quote unquote, and they're still dealing with the aftermath of it. So it's not that I'm okay, let's throw a t-shirt brand up. No, it's not that. This is a whole thing, not thing, but it's a holistic movement, or move, if I can say, or
Right.
endeavor.
Let me add this phrase. It's a whole mood. Somebody will understand why I said that. If you don't know, just look up a whole mood and you'll understand why I said that. So I want to definitely allow for people who are seeing this on the live stream and who are seeing it on the replay. Again, we are on Facebook and YouTube. This is Sheba, and you can find her work at www. This is her new baby, dearmenstop.org, www.dearmenstop.org. Again, this is just part of her launch period. And so we are very excited that she is, again, come out with a new line of messaging for people who are activists, allies, advocates for domestic violence. And again, it's just starting out with this initial message of men, we need for you. And like the other person, if I could just sort of walk around, um,
Right.
women are to be upheld or held up, not held down.
Mm-hmm.
And that messaging will continue to grow. There are other messages I'm sure that will come out, but it is birthing out of this initial trunk, like this initial root. And there will be branches and twigs and stems and leaves and flowers. We're starting right here. And I'm clapping because we from
Hello.
Brooklyn.
Hello.
Starting right here.
Oh, but yes, if I could, I know I have a few minutes, but one of the things you mentioned as far as, like children and, how do we have these conversations? It's like you have any other conversation, right? At one point, and if I may, I know that I'm the type of person this is just what it is, right? So the whole, prior to now, if I can be very transparent, right? There was a time in which, and excuse my maybe lack of describing it accurately, but there was a time when LGBTQ, that community wasn't so boom, right, in your face, right? Would you agree? There was a moment, there was a period of
I
time where
agree.
it wasn't so much, but now it is. And so just like teachers and parents and neighbors and you have to have the conversations with children.
Churches.
Churches, thank you, churches, or even mental health. There was a point in time when mental health, you wouldn't even associate that term with church. You would not, no one ever talks about mental health in church, right? But now that I'm hearing conversations in church, and it's what? In your face. That's why I said I can't use the word awareness, because we're aware. Now we may be afraid to have the conversations, but we're fully aware of what's going on, And so just like we have conversations about other things, we can have conversations about this. No, I wouldn't think that any child would think, oh, this is going to be my future, or is this going to be, no, just like, if for any other thing, and if you talk to them about anxiety, are they going to say, oh my God, am I going to be anxious? Or, like, no, it's just, you know what I mean? But you just have to have, just level-headed conversations with children. Hang on a second. Because
Sure.
what I've come to find out from my own child, children are a lot more resilient than adults. Children understand much more than we think they do. And I think it's actually important to have conversations, because I know people who I've spoken to and speak to on a consistent basis. Not only is quote unquote the mother or the father a victim, the children are a victim as well. So we need to have conversations with children. We need to build up their confidence at a young age. We need to instill these values into young girls. You know what I mean? Because most times a broken child will grow up to be a broken adult if we don't step in. You know what I mean? And we try to do our very best as mothers and fathers and aunties and uncles and grandma and godparents and neighbors and store clerks and, just so forth and so on. So that's just the reality of the world that we are living in, right? COVID-19, Coco is in our face. We have to talk to our children about that. Rona. Right. We have to talk to our children about that. That's in your face. My son literally is like, Mommy, I'm over it. Right.
Yeah, we got to move on.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah.
I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. So if you are just joining us, and actually I'm looking across all our platforms, we have actually about 20 people. I didn't even recognize it because I'm only looking at one platform, who's watching us, who's watching us live. And so more people are going to share this, I'm sure. So if you're just popping on, again, we are talking with Sheba she has just birthed a baby. Actually, she birthed two babies a couple weeks ago, but this is her newest baby. This is one of her business babies, and it's called Dear Men Stop, dearmenstop.org. It is an apparel shop of paraphernalia, and she's begun with some t-shirts. So if you check it out, it is in line with Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which at some point will shift, and it'll be another derivation or iteration of that phrase and of that term.
Right.
But it is bold and in your face message that, listen, gender-based violence is wrong, if I may use that phrase. That is a global phrase that is being recognized, and domestic violence against women is absolutely wrong. And so we're trying to send that message. It needs to stop. And sometimes people can have a talk group about it. Sometimes people can send a pamphlet, but Sheba has actually put it on a shirt. And so those people who are interested in being either an activist, an advocate, an ally, and helping to bring voice to those people whose voice has been removed from them for whatever the reason is. And
I
again,
love
it
that.
doesn't have to only be physical violence. It could be financial violence, it could be intimidation, it could be isolation, it could be emotional, like breaking down. There's so many, and people know about this is not new, but because a lot of people are like, I want to stay safe in safe conversations, there are lots of people, lots of families that are being torn apart. They're not being respected with the system who is really supposed to help, whether it comes, and you all know this, whether it comes to housing or food support or childcare,
Right. Oh gosh, let's not talk about
subsidies,
childcare.
right? Let's keep going. That's a whole conversation, right?
Keep it.
So all of those support for families who are going through this situation, the hoops that they have to jump through, as I'm referencing this series that I saw made, all the hoops that they have to jump through just literally to get a place to lay their head and to
Mhm.
try to rebuild their life over time, it's an added stress. So I really thank you so much for coming, Sheba. I thank you for sitting on the couch with us. I thank you
Woo.
for, oh yes, I know, even though you're standing and rocking your baby.
Uh-huh.
But that's what we do. We gotta pull it all together at the same time.
That's
So
right.
God bless you. Thank you for joining us on the digital couch. Again, those people who please check out her shop, which is called dearmenstop.org. It is just launched, and I'm so glad to have been able to share this message. So, Dear Men Stop, it starts with that message, but then it's going to move and shift to include other forms of intimidation, isolation, and how it has to stop.
It has to
So,
stop.
right,
That's
it
just
has
the
to stop.
bottom line. Listen, however you want to plug it in, it
Right.
just has to stop. All of it. Let's just say all of it, just has to stop. So thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. I'm
Yeah,
grateful for your I'm grateful for that, honestly, because it helps me to, think things through. By no means is it my intention to be insensitive at all. Trust me. So having that response, it allows me to think. So when we move on to next steps and what's next, then we can bear all of these things in mind. So thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to be mother while on the digital couch, because I never separate the two. So
right.
yes, I tried to, make arrangements. It didn't work out. So what do we have to do? Keep moving forward, right?
We-
So I really, really appreciate whomever is watching presently and those who will watch the replay.
Precisely.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. I
Right.
so appreciate it.
And so if you want to even to message her and ask more information, or because I know that Sheba has a lot of other resources connected to this topic, please feel free to slide into her DM, or I'm sure you can leave a message on dearmenstop.org with an email just to get updates, other resources, what have you, around the community, and maybe some. I'm sure there's going to be some 800 numbers or those emergency numbers that should, as a matter of fact, be like emblazoned on the head and the heart of a number of people for whatever the reasons are. So again, peace and blessings. This is a Learn to Grow You moment where I plant seeds to help you grow. I thank you so much for being attentive on the digital couch once again. And remember, your voice is extremely important. Use it for good. Use it for good. Use it for good. Good night, everyone. And I'll see you next time on the digital couch.